Howdy y'all, and welcome back into another One Piece post-game video. This time, we're here to yap about chapter 1170. Just in case this is your first time tuning into a post-game video, how this works is that I like to go through the comment section of the spoiler video just to see what everybody was talking about, theorizing about, and looking forward to before the chapter officially dropped. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. So, first comment is, of course, from me giving updates on the spoilers, but now, the second comment says that the God Knights are the Team Rocket of One Piece with 700 likes? I'm not a big YouTuber, so for me at least, seeing a comment with 700 likes is kind of crazy. Everybody agrees that the God Knights are like Team Rocket. That is so painful, man. I mean, but it's true. Yes, it's a joke, but it's also kind of reality. They tried to attack the Roger Pirates to get Shanks back on multiple occasions. Not once, not twice. It sounds like on a multitude of times, and every single time, they caught the L. And not just that, but Gabon in the chapter explicitly says, oh, dude, I've never had to deal with an immortal opponent that has Conqueror's Haki. Bro, Oda is almost going out of his way to insult the God Knights. There's no person in the world who hates the God Knights more than the man who created them. It's crazy, brother. We could have given the God Knights a small W at least, right? Because when I talk about the God Knights looking bad, they're like, oh, Sai, what did you expect? Did you want the God Knights to beat the Roger Pirates? No, there are a multitude of ways to make the God Knights look good without them necessarily winning. Scopper could have said, oh yeah, those guys were formidable opponents. Oh, they were really strong. They really gave us quite some trouble in the past. Actually, they defeated a member of the Roger Pirates who we don't know about, which, granted, there's like 30 plus Roger Pirates. We could have killed off one of them. I bet that there's not a single person here right now watching this video that can actually name every single Roger Pirate because there's just so many of them. And that's the thing. We could have killed off one of them. You could have said, oh, by the way, Jackson Banner got really injured in one of those confrontations. They could have gotten a miniature W. But nope. Scopper's like, yeah, no conquerors. They just got beat up every single time. They look bad, guys. They look absolutely awful. My cope right now is that the God Knights have only gotten stronger with each defeat, and that's one of the main things to keep in mind. Scopper's confrontation with the God Knights, that was a long time ago. There's a good chance that the God Knights of the past are not the God Knights of today, and who knows, maybe after the Roger Pirates kept on whooping their ass, they trained, and the God Knights of today are like 100 times stronger. Remember that? Luffy, after being whooped by Kizaru at Sabaody, he came back during Egghead, and he said, oh, we're 100 times stronger now, Kizaru. Maybe the God Knights do that. Maybe the God Knights do that right there. Next up, second comment. The God Knights, aura farming, be like Wi-Fi, but no internet. Roger Pirates not giving Shanks back is funny AF for some reason, like a custody battle. That is true. And like I said, I do wonder what was the thought process behind that. Because obviously they know that Shanks isn't their kid. So it's like, hey, let's raise this kid for ourselves, even though we're pirates on an adventure. I'm honestly surprised they didn't just give Shanks back because Shanks was a hot item. Because they had Shanks in their possession, they were constantly being attacked by the God Knights. Yes, the Roger Pirates were already dealing with admirals, possibly the Navy every other day, other pirate groups, but they essentially added on one more faction opponent for a kid they don't really know about when their real dad is on the opposing end. I wish we could have seen a conversation where Roger's like, hey, I know we don't know whose baby this is, but either way, it's better for us to have Shanks than the Celestial Dragon to have Shanks. Would have been a fire scene. It would have been a fire scene. This says, Shanks, how to beat immortal creatures with regeneration. Gabon, Conqueror's Haki plus spam. Yeah, the answer is not exactly what I thought it was going to be, especially based off how Scopper initially worded it current day. Scopper was like, hey, Luffy, Loki, be mindful of how you use your Conqueror's Haki. Oh, shoot. Is there like another realm? Do you have to like infuse your weapon with Conqueror's Haki? Do you have to hit a specific spot with Conqueror's Haki? No, just keep on hitting them until they don't want to get back up. Okay, old man, I gotcha. That is a crazy answer, man. I still think there will be a secondary route to beat the God Knights, and the only reason I believe that right now is simply because of their final opponents. Think about all the God Knights right now. Who will they fight at the end of the story? A lot of people are starting to believe they are Revolutionary Army opponents, which pains my heart. But if that's the case, there's got to be another way, because none of those RA commanders have Conqueror's Haki to our knowledge. I bet Sabo maybe does, Dragon definitely does, but as far as characters like Morley, Karasu, Bello Betty, Lindbergh, Giron, Gambit, Ushiano, and Ahiru, also Ivankov and Inazuma, I don't think those are conquerors, brother. I'm gonna be so serious. If one of them has it, cool, but there's no way every single one of them has the ability to unlock Conqueror's Haki. So if they are truly Rev opponents, the Revs have to find another way around that regeneration. And even if they're not revolutionary opponents and say they're Straw Hat opponents, hell, most of the Straw Hats do not have Conqueror's Haki. So that is why I do think there will be another way around it. And maybe this chapter gave us a hint as to how to do that. Because in the final segments of this chapter, King Harald regains his senses for a little bit. And one thing a lot of people have been pointing out is that he starts regaining his senses when his arm is lopped off, the arm with the mark of the abyss. Maybe that's how you do it right there. You just have to keep on lopping off that arm, or maybe you have to, take a Sharpie and mess up the mark of the abyss. There's gotta be another way around regeneration. Unless you believe that Oda is simply gonna bring back a lot of different conquerors into the fold to fight these guys, like Boa Hancock, Doflamingo, Don Chinjiao, Eustace Kid. I think that's also a really fun route. That's what I would enjoy more, because that would feel like a final war, right? A bunch of random conquerors gathered together to fight the God Knights. But we'll see, brother. We'll see. I don't know what Oda's planning for the God Knights. Right now, their stocks are kind of taking a tumble. Everyone, oh my gosh, how do I beat these guys? Roger Pirates, easy. Just win, get good, noob. Kind of makes you wonder. Tangent. How many Roger Pirates actually had Conqueror's Haki? Besides the ones we know about, right? Minus your Rogers, Scopper, Rayleigh, Odins, and Douglas Bullets. Who there was actually fighting the God Knights too? Were they even doing anything, or did they just know it was useless and they just kind of hang back on the side? Playing support roles. I do wonder. Like, imagine if Jackson Banner had Conqueror's Haki. Millet Pine has Conqueror's Haki. Hell, maybe Gold Roger went around handing out Conqueror Haki knots, which wouldn't be a bad idea. Wait, if Dragon handed out Conqueror Haki knots to the Revolutionary Army, maybe that'd be a pretty good way to get around this. Or maybe Luffy does that for the Straw Hats. Like, hey, Chopper, I know you don't have Conqueror's Haki. I know you can't win on your own. So take my Haki knot and just pull it when the time is right. Would that work? I think so. I guess we just have to find Haki knots and where they're made, because surely Haki knots aren't just made of regular rope. It's got to be like some sort of special material, like Giant's Beard, for example, which is a thing in fantasy, but not in the world of One Piece yet. This says, that fool Garling wasn't strong enough to get his son back. Fraud Knights at its finest. Okay, we could also spin this to make Roger look bad. Like, oh, this dirty, evil, conniving pirate didn't give a man his son back. Ah, Garling's just a good guy trying to save his family and bring him together. And now look at Roger, that dastardly fellow. What if he what? What if he nuts with Ragnir, dog? Reword this now. Yeah, not exactly the best way to word it. But essentially, what this comment is referring to is when I said Usopp and Ragnir might have a good connection, because Usopp once lied about being a Nolan descendant, and the main thing with the Nolan family is that they have nuts for heads. So I was like, oh yeah, maybe Usopp just gives Ragnir some nuts. And people have brought up the pop greens and how squirrels should theoretically like the pop greens. So maybe that's what Oda's going for. Kind of like how Nami is feeding Zeus her black balls. Maybe Usopp will just pop his seeds into Ragnir and things will just work out. I am curious to see how Ragnir will interact with Chopper, Usopp, and the rest of the crew. And even Luffy, right? If Ragnir is from the Void Century and it's this hammer from 900 years ago, yeah, it possibly knew OG Joy Boy. I doubt it can really communicate with Luffy, but We'll see, brother. We'll see. Maybe the squirrel can draw. It can't speak English, but the squirrel, I bet, could draw pictures like, oh, Luffy equals Joy Boy. This comment says, Roger, using the Holy Knights for training on a random Tuesday morning. No. Thank God Loki wasn't the one to turn into a squirrel. Yeah, brother. Those initial GIF hints for this chapter were absurd. I don't know if you guys went online during that period before the spoilers actually dropped, but the leakers were posting GIF hints of jacked squirrels and sandy cheeks, and a lot of people kind of took that and ran with it and said, yo, Loki's a squirrel, man. His mythological Zoan is gonna be a squirrel. Elbaf's fruit is a squirrel. And there was a lot of fan arts of Loki like as a squirrel hybrid online, and it was just hilarious. I am glad, as much as I love memes, right? I love a good laugh. I am glad Oda played with both sides here. The squirrel, great gag, hilarious, cute, adorable. And then you have Loki, who's seemingly a badass. His transformation looks cool via silhouette. Obviously, maybe we'll get the real thing and it looks really goofy, but right now, it looks like Oda's playing both camps of goofiness and seriousness. And I can't wait to see him revealed. This says, nah, Sai is crazy fast with these uploads. Hey, that's simply because I was awake at the time. When the spoilers dropped, you never know when they're going to drop, by the way. It's always super random. But I was about to go to bed. It was like 6 a.m. and I was like, okay, time for me to hit the hay. I just got done brushing my teeth. I was about to lay down. And then, boom, boom, boom. Brief spoilers are here. So I got out of bed and I went straight to recording. Roger, Rayleigh and Gabon probably got workout schedules with the God Knights. Yeah, imagine it's that routine. Hey, St. Somers, where are we going to see you again? I should be free next Tuesday. You know, if you guys still have Shanks, we'll just swing by again. Oh, man. Like how Roger goes Wednesday and Monday. Gabon takes Thursday and Tuesdays. Rayleigh takes Friday and Saturday. They team up on Sundays, so the God Knights just don't show up on Sunday because they take the three of them on. I wonder who they sent. Based on the God Knight silhouettes we got in this chapter, it doesn't look like Garland was there. It looked like they maybe sent the B team, which is what I'm putting my money on. Maybe they only send the weakest member of the God Knights to fight the Pirate King's crew. That's why Garland wasn't there. That's why Scopper said there's no conquerors. That's my cope. This is how they train young God Knights. Remember that? That was a big question. Oh, who are the God Knights training against if they're always up in the Holy Land? They don't have opponents to clash with. They clashed with the Pirate King's crew. Hey, all I gotta say, hey, Killingham, the newest recruit, go fight Rayleigh. Whoa, yeah, the power buff you'd get from that confrontation, it's gotta be phenomenal. I'd like to think. The Roger Pirates be cleaning out the Holy Knights like Ash cleaning out Team Rocket. Things just keep getting worse for Sai's favorite faction. Yeah. That's what I get, man. You know, when it comes to factions in One Piece, I do like some of them, but there's never been a faction where I'm like, oh, I love every single character. The God Knights, because most of them are still silhouetted and we haven't really spent time with them, I'm like, yo, I love their fits, I love their designs, I like their position in the world, I love how villainous they are. Yeah, the very minute Akainu mentioned these guys as a real faction, I was like, yo, I'm gonna put the chips down, this is it. And then guess what? The first member of the God Knights we saw was Shanks' dad. I was like, yo, I put my money down in the right place. I bet it on red, and hell yeah, it's landed there. And then that's when things started going downhill. And now, this is going to be a little bit of a tangent, but I have seen some people commenting, oh, but Sai, I always thought that they were going to be YC level. I always thought they were going to be very weak. Okay, but it didn't have to be the case. It wasn't like set in stone that these guys were going to be weak and had to be weak. No, they could have been strong, and it could have made sense. Going to what Shanks said in this chapter, right? The God Knights do not leave the Holy Land all too often. That could have been a great justification for why they're so strong, yet they don't really ruin the balancing of power in the world. It's because they don't leave home. Kind of like Squad Zero in Bleach. Bleach spoilers, but Squad Zero is super freaking busted. And when they first got introduced, people were like, oh, if they're so strong, why didn't they come down all these arcs ago and solve all of our problems? Well, Squad Zero's justification was that they don't care about the lower world. Their job is to stay up in the Holy Land, the Soul King's palace, and protect him. The ones who are responsible for the Soul Society are the Gote 13. It could have been the same way here, where it's like, oh, the people responsible for the lower world, the admirals, the marines, they have to deal with that. We, the Holy Knights, we protect Emu. It could have made sense. But no, Oda's going a different route with these guys. Maybe it gets better in the future. Maybe the God Knights that failed got killed off screen. Who knows, man? But I am holding out hope. Maybe one day they'll look better. This comment says the only aura the God Knights can farm is green and putrid. Yeah. It reminds me of the JJK meme of Noya, where when they were releasing key visuals, for some reason they gave him like green stink lines, and that was his aura. And it's like, dude, what is this? What is going on here? That's the God Knights in a nutshell. This says, I think Shanks did it for the Loki is evil agenda. Just keeping him out of the limelight, and Loki was like, all right. Yeah, I think Shanks did it for the agenda, but I also think Shanks did it to save Loki from being attacked by the world government. Because Loki, he has the mythical devil fruit of Elbaf, one of the 2 devil fruits in the world that can take Emu down. They probably just don't want that to fall into the wrong hands. So in my opinion, that is why Shanks wanted to defeat Loki and bring him back to Elbaf, to safekeep him. As far as Loki being like, all right, chain me up, I don't think that's the case, because Loki didn't want to be chained up. I mean, hell, when Luffy showed up, one of the very first things Loki said was, hey, Straw Hat, I will kill anybody in the world if you unchain me. He doesn't want to be here. I do not think Loki complied with Shanks. And even when it comes to Shanks, yes, he was lying, but he called Shanks a chicken, a coward, right? He doesn't exactly like the red-haired brothers. So I don't think Loki was on board with this. I think Loki, of course, wants to go with the Loki's evil agenda, but I think he wanted to be free on the open seas while pushing that narrative. This says, Oda doesn't want to make the Holy Knights that strong because in the end, they're going to fight the revolutionaries or Grand Fleet. Yeah, we already talked about that one. People are saying, Garling will get hockey knots from Emu in the final war. Oh, the hockey knot slander is so funny. It's just so sad seeing that they're coming after my guy. But yeah, Emu's got to do something. I mean, that's one of my main things with the God Knights too, right? They were so underwhelming at God Valley that another one of my copes is that they will get stronger when they're closer to Emu. Kind of like how Shanks talked about possession. He was like, oh yeah, if you're up in the Holy Land, if you're within his reach, you will get controlled. It does seem like he's 5G Wi-Fi, where the closer you are to Emu, the stronger your contract is. So maybe when the God Knights are in the Holy Land, their home field, they get a 50% buff across the board. Maybe that is how we make them formidable. Oda did the right thing not revealing Loki's devil fruit in the flashback. We're going to see it in real time against Gunko plus Emu. It will be hype. Yeah, that's an opinion. Whether you believe that it should have been revealed here or not, I will say this, it is pretty insane to see a fight that is entirely silhouetted. Like, Loki shows up, we get like a punch, a kick, and then we have Loki ripping off his head, and it's all via shadows, right? We don't see the real thing. And at first, I was like, okay, this is a little bit silly. But then I was like, you know what? This is kind of cool. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I just hope that the silhouettes we got in this chapter are accurate to what Loki is, because a lot of people are speculating based off of those silhouettes. And those silhouettes are strange. One of those silhouettes literally was a stump leg. It was a stump cartoon leg just running around. It's like, will Loki actually have that? He's got to, right? Silhouette piece, I know, has been very volatile in the past, but I feel like as time goes on, Oda's silhouettes are only getting more and more accurate. So when it comes to the goofiness of Loki's design in this chapter, I think that is like a pretty valid hint to what Loki actually is. But we'll see. Loki might be the most impressive person in the verse to me, so excited to see what his role will be. Yeah, where does he go after Elbaf? Will he go to Mosa? Will he go to the Galley Law? Will he join the Straw Hats? Will he go to the world government? There's a lot of questions with him, and he doesn't seem like a character that will stay stagnant, like Yamato. Yamato, we freed her, and then instead of joining the Straw Hats, she said, oh, guys, I want to explore Wano. Okay, sure. That makes sense for a character. But as far as Loki goes, I can't see him saying, hey guys, you know what? I'm gonna pick up the crown and do what my father wanted me to do. No, no, no. Loki seems like a loose cannon. I can't actually imagine him ruling Elbaf like his father intended for him to. I think he will set back out onto the open seas. Question is, where will he go first? This says, Roger, I know how to beat the God Knights, really. Don't say hit them really hard. Roger, hit them really hard together? Yeah, it's pretty good. This one says, Monkey D. Dragon, the real fight starts when the God Knights arrive. The Roger Pirates. We've been noob camping these poor guys for years. Edit, merry holidays. Dude, you made me spit a little bit. That's kind of funny. Yeah, camping their spawn. I was talking to Par, and he said the League of Legends equivalent is that these guys can't leave the fountain. Every time they leave, the Raja Pirates just beam them down. And that's what it seems like, man. That's what it seems like. So Loki has advanced observation, future sight he has shown while predicting Dunkel's arrows, and advanced Conqueror's Haki, plus 2 legendary fruits, plus legendary weapon, plus ancient giant blood. And you're telling me he is not the strongest of all time? Bro, I bet all my stocks on Loki. Yeah, that's just a telling of the times. We're in the final saga of One Piece. Every character that gets introduced from here on out has to be a certain amount of strong to be relevant and to be usable in a fight. I mean, hell, even the God Knights, we make fun of them left and right. They're the punching bags of the verse, etc. But at the end of the day, you still need Conqueror's Haki to beat them, right? If you don't have Conqueror's Haki, unless there's a second option, you can't beat them. So even though they are lackluster, they're still up there by default. So yes, Loki having all of this, I think makes sense. And now I'm just curious, brother. You know, people have been asking, him versus Kaido, who would win? I know, we're not here to power scale necessarily, but it does make you wonder. Like, I'm rubbing my chin. It's like, okay, Loki versus Kaido, who would I put my money on? It would be crazy not to say Loki is a pretty valid pick, right? I mean, dude, he has one of the 2 legendary fruits in the world that can beat Emu. Like, that is crazy hype. And then Ragnir, Conqueror's Haki. And then plus, like, he maybe awakened that fruit as well. Like, we have to keep that in mind. He's had this fruit for 8 years. I mean, 14 years now. He was chained up for 6 years, so I don't count the full thing. But still, like, he's had time to master this ability. So I almost want to put my stocks on Loki, man. I'm surprised he doesn't have a higher bounty than 2.8 billion even. This says, Merry Christmas to all. And this says, bro went full Mickey Mouse. Yeah, my voice cracks sometimes still, you know, it still happens, man. It still happens. I'm so happy. Loki has a devil fruit. A giant using a mythical zone is sick as hell. Oh, yeah. And I would really love to see more giants with devil fruits, because we don't have a lot. I believe we have Loki. We have San Juan Wolf. And I think that's it. There was like one girl in a filler arc that had a devil fruit as well. I think she could like shrink herself like Ant-Man. But yeah, I'm excited to see if we'll ever get a giant with a Logia. Because Hyruden kind of talked about that during Dressrosa, like, oh, have you ever seen a giant with a Logia? We're unstoppable. And it's like, oh, shoot. Give a giant one. Feed a giant a devil fruit. Let's see what happens. I think, my headcanon, as far as why we don't see more giants with fruits, is simply because the fruits are human-sized. I mean, hell, in this chapter, Loki put that fruit in the palm of his hand, and you can't really make out what it is. It was essentially scribbles in the panel. So I think that's why giants don't have powers that often. They just don't see them. This next comment says, I didn't expect the slander of Knights of God from Oda himself. Yeah, that's one thing you have to keep in mind, right? You know, you could say, oh, Scopper's slandering them, Shanks is slandering them, blah, blah, but at the end of the day, it's Oda writing the story. So he is their biggest op. Now, for this last one, it says, so that's how the Roger Pirates got so strong. They had the same 6 to 13 bums running it down mid every couple of weeks, and it boosted their elo all the way to Laughtail. I'm actually surprised that they haven't killed one of the God Knights yet. Like, maybe we'll learn about that. Like, oh, in the past, Roger killed this guy. You know, Scopper killed this God Knight. Like, if they keep on coming back like Team Rocket, at what point do you just execute them? And don't say, oh, Roger doesn't believe in killing people. Bro, Roger does. Roger explicitly went out of his way to kill all of Squard's crew, and he left Squard alive by himself to wallow in despair. So you can't tell me that that isn't the type of guy that would actually kill the God Knights when the God Knights are actually villains. You know, they're out here enslaving people. They're out here, you know, destroying islands for fun. So yeah, I'm surprised Roger hasn't straight up killed these guys yet. Maybe you can't. Maybe their regeneration really does just keep on going over and over and over and over. And even with Conqueror's Hockey, you can't hit them with permadeath, which makes you wonder, could you throw them in the ocean? Will that work? I don't know. But either way, you guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me in this little adventure. Let me know all your thoughts about what we talked about down below. And what are your thoughts on 1170 now that the chapter has officially released? You guys take care. Happy holidays. Happy New Year's. Peace out, brothers.